Coming up on this Friday edition of Daybreak, the ruling Saenuri Party welcomes President Park Geun-hye's proposed three-way meeting with the opposition Democratic Party to seek a way to break the ongoing political impasse. The DP defers its response. The two Koreas will exchange their list, confirming whether the upcoming family reunion candidates are still alive. Each side will come back with a final list of 100 candidates next Monday. Plus, the foreign ministers of Russia and the US begin talks on the Moscow-led plan to put the Syrian government's chemical arms under international control. The Syrian president's pledge to hand over the stockpile in a month leaves Washington unconvinced. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Friday, September 13th, and I'm Choi Yu-sun here in Seoul. We start this morning at the nation's presidential office, where President Park Geun-hye has suggested a three-way meeting with the leaders of the ruling and main opposition parties. Kim Hyun-ji reports on the latest efforts to get the country's parliament back to business.
A day after President Park Geun-hye returned home from trips to Russia and Vietnam, the presidential office announced that the president would like to meet with the leaders of the ruling and main opposition parties in order to address any concerns the parties may have. The meeting would take place at the National Assembly and would follow a briefing by the president on the success of her recent overseas trips. The announcement was made a few hours after Saenuri Party floor leader Choi Kyung-hwan and his main opposition Democratic Party counterpart Chun Byung-hun sat down for breakfast Thursday to discuss how the rival parties can go about normalizing parliamentary business. It was the first time the floor leaders had met in 2 months. The National Assembly has remained virtually paralyzed for weeks over stark differences between the parties on the role of the country's spy agency, the National Intelligence Service. The Democratic Party has been demanding the agency be reformed from top to bottom and says the NIS meddled in last year's presidential election through a systematic online smear campaign against the opposition candidates. The Democratic Party has also been demanding that President Park apologize for the election scandal. When a special parliamentary probe into the scandal petered out with no tangible results in early August, the Democratic Party organized street protests, accusing the ruling camp of blocking a meaningful investigation into the matter. The Saenuri Party urged the Democratic Party to end its street protests and return to parliament. Because of the vast bipartisan differences between the parties, urgent issues like this year's budget and measures aimed at reversing a slowing domestic economy have been put on the back burner for weeks. The rival parties now hope to return parliamentary operations to normal before Chuseok, the fall harvest holiday, which starts next Wednesday. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
And in response to President Park's proposal, the ruling party has welcomed it, calling on the main opposition to accept the offer. But the DP held back from giving a clear response, saying it will come up with an answer after looking into the exact intention behind the proposal, as well as the issues to be discussed. South and North Korea will exchange lists later today, confirming whether wartime separated family members of each side's candidates for the upcoming family reunions are still alive. Late last month, the South Korean Red Cross had passed on a list containing information about North Korean family members of 250 registered South Koreans, while receiving a similar list of 200 registered North Koreans and family from its northern counterpart. After Friday's exchange, the two sides plan to return with their final list of 100 candidates each next Monday, with the priority placed on age and direct family membership. For the first time in nearly 3 years, the two Koreas will hold family reunions of those separated since the Korean War at the North's Mount Kumgang starting September 25th. For the fourth straight month, the Bank of Korea has left its key interest rate unchanged with just a week to go before the U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to announce a scale back of its stimulus program. Our economics correspondent Hwang Ji-ae has the details.
Korea's central bank kept its wait-and-see stance for the fourth straight month in September, holding its key interest rate steady at 2.5%. Following its monthly monetary policy meeting on Thursday, the Bank of Korea said the local and global economies will stay on the path of moderate recovery in the coming months.
The central bank has given a 3.7% growth outlook for the second half of this year and a 4% growth forecast for next year. Current economic conditions are changing within our forecast, so we'll stick with our outlook for the time being.
With the Fed poised to start winding down its $85 billion a month bond buying program sometime soon, the governor said Korean policymakers will have to make sure the local economy won't be hit by possible capital outflows. Already emerging economies such as India and Indonesia have suffered from sharp currency depreciation on speculation of the U.S. Fed announcement.
If the Fed pulling back from its stimulus programs prompts capital flight in only a handful of emerging markets, the risk to the Korean economy won't be that substantial. But if foreign investors pull out from all emerging markets, the impact on the economy will be huge.
With Korean policymakers mindful of negative impacts from the planned reduction of the U.S. Federal Reserve's stimulus programs, many analysts expect the central bank to keep its interest rate unchanged for the rest of the year. Hwang Ji-ae, Arirang News.
Housing prices nationwide have been rising over the past 2 weeks following government measures to stimulate the stuttering real estate market. The Korea Appraisal Board said Thursday that home prices rose 0.1% this week, with the affluent Gangnam district in Seoul posting a 0.25% increase. Rental prices nationwide also climbed for the 55th straight week, driven by a decrease in supply and a rise in the number of people moving ahead of the winter season. Rental prices rose 0.2% this week, up 4.7% from the end of last year. By region, Seoul rose the most, followed by Daegu and Gyeonggi province. The government and the ruling Saenuri Party have agreed in principle to make Children's Day part of the so-called substitute holiday system. This system gives workers an extra weekday off when a holiday falls on a weekend. It currently only applies to Lunar New Year's Day and Chuseok, the upcoming fall harvest holiday. But under the new plan, workers will also be able to take an additional day off when Children's Day, which is on May 5th, falls on either a Saturday or Sunday. Over in Japan, levels of tritium, one of the radioactive materials spewing from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant, have rapidly increased over the last 3 days. The plant's operator, TEPCO, says it detected tritium levels that were 15 times higher than a reading from earlier this week at a groundwater well near a leaking tank at the facility. Meanwhile, Korea's Fisheries Ministry announced Thursday that the country's territorial waters nearby Japan all proved to be safe from radioactive materials. In sample tests conducted last month, the levels of radioactive cesium were less than the average of the past 5 years. The government plans to conduct the sample test once or twice every month at some 27 spots in Korean waters.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiation.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
Defense Ministry.
The legislature will convene a
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday. To the latest on the Syrian crisis, Damascus has submitted a document to the United Nations to join an international convention on chemical weapons control. This comes as the U.S. and Russia have begun talks on the Moscow-led plan to see Syria turn in its chemical arms. Our Chi Myung-gil has more.
It looks as though the Russian-backed plan to put Syria's chemical weapons under international control is making headway. The UN announced Thursday that it received documents from the Syrian government asking it to join the Chemical Weapons Convention.
In the past few hours, we have received a document from the government of Syria, which is being translated, which is to be an accession document concerning the Chemical Weapons Convention.
If Syria joins the Chemical Weapons Convention, then it would become one of only 7 countries outside the International Convention to outlaw stockpiling chemical weapons. Speaking to Russian state TV Thursday, President Assad said Damascus was ready to give up its chemical weapons.
Of course, in the next several days, Syria will send an appeal to the United Nations and to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. And this appeal will contain technical information which is needed in order to sign the agreement.
The Syrian president said Russia would play a key role in the process. Washington remains skeptical, with U.S. officials describing Russia's plan as doable but difficult. Regarding the probe into the chemical weapons attack that sparked the crisis, one Australian diplomat said there was a good chance the chief UN investigator's report on whether sarin gas was used or not would come out next Monday.
We expect to receive it sooner rather than later, but I have no precise timetable yet. My understanding is Dr. Sellstrom and his team need to finalize their work.
The Russian and U.S. foreign ministers have begun their crucial meeting in Geneva to discuss Russia's proposal. Speaking before the talks, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the resolution of the chemical weapons issue would make any military strike by the United States unnecessary. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said he hoped diplomacy could prevent military action. Chi Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Let's check in with Reuters to see what other stories are making headlines around the world.
Security forces and Muslim rebels in the southern Philippines exchanged fire in a standoff now into its 4th day. Hundreds of heavily armed Muslim gunmen landed in the coastal districts around Zamboanga in the south of the country on Monday and took about 100 villagers hostage. After intense fighting in the early morning of Thursday, officials say the rebels had pulled back to a nearby public school while using hostages as human shields.
That was what they're doing from the day one, from the start of this. They use the civilians in the area as human shields. And that is the reason why, again, since the start, it was really complicated for the security forces to just launch an attack on the matter or what. There are civilians.
Officials say the rebels belong to a faction of the Moro National Liberation Front rebel group, which runs a Muslim autonomous region on the southern Mindanao Island. At least 10 people have been killed so far in the clashes. Some locals have moved into temporary shelter at a local stadium to escape the violence. Colombian authorities detained this woman, Richie Tabitha Leah, as she was trying to board a plane back to Toronto with 2 kilograms of cocaine hidden inside a fake baby bump. She told customs officials she was 7 months pregnant, but when an inspector examined the 28-year-old's belly and felt it was cold and hard, suspicions were aroused. If convicted of drug trafficking, Leah could face up to 8 years in prison.
Korea's culture and science ministries are aiming to boost exports of the nation's content industry, which includes games, films, and animations. The plan, which was announced during a bi-weekly cabinet meeting on Thursday, included additional financial support to the industry. They set a goal for an annual export level of $10 billion by 2017, which would be more than double the current amount. Last year, Korea exported about $4.8 billion worth of content products. More than half of that total came from gaming industry, while a third of the exports were headed to Japan. And one of the biggest broadcasting trade shows is well underway here in Seoul, where thousands of buyers and major stations from around the globe are seizing the opportunity to trade media content. Our Kim Hyun-bin brings us this report from the convention floor.
Where can foreign broadcasters get their hands on the latest hit TV shows from Asia? At Broadcast Worldwide 2013, a major broadcast industry trade show hosted by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism that runs for 3 days until Friday.
This is the 13th Broadcast Worldwide Convention. The event is considered a hub for Asian content, allowing buyers and sellers from around the globe to exchange, purchase, and sell the superb content from their countries.
Over 170 major domestic and international broadcasters are here to promote and sell their hottest products.
Like other broadcasters at this market, we want to promote our channel, which is Korea's only all-English international channel. And I want to promote and sell our cultural programs, documentaries, and entertainment shows to the foreign buyers.
Dramas, variety shows, and music programs from Korea have a large following in Asia and are particularly popular here.
I'm a representative of a Chinese broadcaster. I'm here because we think the Korean entertainment TV shows are quite famous and very popular. I'm here to seek any potential possibilities to have some cooperation and co-production.
Last year's convention hit a record high in sales, with roughly $40 million changing hands. And this year's convention is expected to facilitate even higher sales figures.
Over 1,500 buyers from 50 countries are here at this year's convention. Since its inception in 2001, sales have jumped sevenfold, making Korea the biggest broadcasting content market in Asia. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
And a good Friday morning to you all. Now, if you're a baseball fan, your worst enemy is the rain. Now, you're hoping to enjoy the visit to the ballparks, and it starts raining and it's canceled. But this time, it was over at the first round of the Avian Championships as the heavy downpour suspended the first round of the event. Now, with the nation hoping to see Park In-bi start off the first round of the 5th LPGA Major with the lead, the heavy rain ended up suspending the first round and forced the officials to move the first round to later today. While many of the players waited in the rain for over an hour, all the scores were scratched, and everyone will start from the beginning once again. Now, the LPGA hopes to have the tournament still finish on time, despite having to play 36 holes on the last day. And moving on to the major leagues, where LA Dodgers pitcher Lee Hyun-jin went after his 14th win of the season, only to fall short against the Arizona Diamondbacks on Wednesday. With the LA Dodgers hoping to sweep the Diamondbacks, Lee Hyun-jin fails to earn his 14th win of the season after pitching 6 innings, giving up 3 runs on 10 hits, while striking out only 1 batter. With the loss, his record now stands at 13-6 with an ERA of 3.07. Meanwhile, Diamondbacks starter Patrick Corbin looking great on the mound, giving up just 1 run after giving up a solo shot to Yesel Puig in the 7th inning as the Diamondbacks take this game 4-1. And moving on to some Thursday night's KBO action as the Lotte Giants and the Samsung Lions played a very close game as Lotte snuck past Samsung 1-0. Also, the Hanwha Eagles beat the NC Dinos 8-5, your final score. So with that said, let's take a look at the other two games that took place last night, starting off with the SK Wyverns taking on the Doosan Bears. Now, first inning of the game, here is Chejong with a sac fly to right field, and right off the bat, it's 1-0 SK Wyverns. Next inning, here's Chung Sang-ho at bat. He drives this one deep to left field. Back, got a 2-run shot, and it's 3-0 SK Wyverns. Fourth inning of the game this time, here's Park Jae-sang, RBI single to right field, and 4 innings, 4 runs for the SK Wyverns. Now we're going to fast forward to the 8th inning of the game. SK up 7-0 in the game. Here's Lee Jung-wook, RBI double down the left field line, gets the Doosan Bears on the scoreboard 7-1. Next batter here is Min Byung-han, infield single here, but check this out, a defensive mistake brings home Park Gun-woo, and it's all of a sudden 7-2 after 8 innings. 9th inning of the game, you know what they say, it ain't over till it's over, and Choi Jae-hoon send this one over the left field wall, a 3-run shot, and it's now 7-5 SK Wyverns. Next play, it's deja vu all over again. Kim Dong-han this time, deep to left field, another 3-run home run over the left field wall, and Doosan now takes the lead, 8-7. Next play, here is the outfielder of the Doosan Bears, Im Jae-chul, RBI single to right, and Doosan completes the 7-run 9th inning. A perfect bottom of the 9th as Doosan comes back from 7 runs down to beat the SK Wyverns, 9-7. And next up, the LG Twins taking on the Kia Tigers. First inning here, here's Lee Jin-young, an RBI single to center, and it's 1-0 LG Twins. Second inning, Son Ju-in makes this 2-0 LG with an RBI single to right. Next play, bases loaded for Lee Jin-young, and he's going to send this to right center field here. Bases clearing triple as the LG Twins take a 5-0 lead. Third inning of the game, Kia gets on board here thanks to Park In-nam's sac fly to right. 5-1 LG Twins. Not that close, right? Well, 5th inning of the game, here's the LG Twins once again. They continue to swing away. Lee Byung-gyu this time, an RBI single to left field makes it 6-1 LG Twins. Before the other Lee Byung-gyu, that's right, there are 2 Lee Byung-gyus at LG. This time a 2-run triple, and it's 8-1 LG Twins. The LG Twins offense too much for the Kia Tigers on the night as LG crushes Kia 11-3, your final score. And with that said, finishing things off in football, despite an impressive 4-1 victory over Haiti and a close match against Croatia, the Korean football team continues to drop in their FIFA rankings. At the latest rankings, placed Korea 58th overall. Now, Korea drops 2 places since last month's FIFA ranking and hasn't been this low in the ranking since 2007. Meanwhile, Japan also dropped several spots down and is now ranked 42nd in the latest ranking, with Iran at 48th, Australia at 53rd, and Uzbekistan at 57th, leaving Korea 5th amongst the Asian teams. And with all that said, that is going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Happy Friday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-yeon with your latest weather forecast. Well, what a soggy and wet start to our Friday. It's been pouring here in the central region from last night. In fact, heavy rain advisory has been issued in Seoul and some of the surrounding areas. So please have your rain gears ready on your commute. And the roads are extremely slippery. In fact, the ratio of car crashes increased 40% on a rainy day. So please keep that in mind and drive with extra caution this morning. Now, the rain will thin out by the mid-afternoon, but till then it's gonna rain heavily and we might hear some rumbles of thunder as well. Well, that's because we're under the influence of a weak trough of low pressure from the west that's been bringing rain clouds to the central region, while down south we'll have just mostly cloudy day throughout the day. Now, the rain will go away towards the late afternoon and we'll get a short break from the rain, but it will return tomorrow morning, so rainy days ahead of us on Saturday, but it won't rain as much as today though. On Sunday, we may finally see some sun, and next week we'll have lots of sunshine. Now today is gonna be slightly chillier than yesterday, so let's take a look at those numbers. The capital will start out at 20 and daytime highs will be rising to 24 degrees Celsius, that's 75 degrees in Fahrenheit, and it looks like afternoon highs in Daegu and Gwangju and Busan will all get up into high 20s under lots of clouds. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju will have passing showers, while Daejeon and Dokdo will top out at 26. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for our viewers around the world. That's all I have for you this morning. Enjoy your rainy morning commute and hope you have a wonderful Friday.
That does it for this edition of Daybreak. Thank you for watching.